Coming up next, from San Fran Freak Show, the Savage Nation. From Talk 910 KNEW.
No one else can say it that clear and that precise. They is that.
The Savage Nation. Weekday afternoons 3 to 7. Talk 910 KNEW. Warning. The Michael Savage Show contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Here is Michael Savage.
Savage Nation. Just setting the mood with sitar music. Don't panic. All right, so here's the shot. I live in a very liberal area. Most of the people are drugged, either on Prozac-related compounds, cocaine, marijuana, crank. It's hard to say. They're all white middle-class liberals, the type that still drive around with Obama, Biden bumper stickers and think that they're doing just swell. So I'll give you an example of the kind of things you put up with in liberal communities. Here's an article in a local newspaper. It says, sea lions swarming long-abandoned seal rocks. It says they can hear the sea lions off seal rocks on Ocean Beach, and they're saying, I've never seen mass clumps of sea lions like this. Now, normally, that would be a good thing, that there's an awful lot of sea lions. But because liberals believe in, well, we don't know what they believe in. I think they believe in global warming. And, of course, this should be something good that there's a lot of sea lions, right, to a lib? They're turning it into something bad because the sea lions are making a lot of noise, disturbing their seances. Last night I go into a restaurant, little fish joint. I wanted to just slip in, slip out, have a piece of fish, an overpriced piece of garbage, $16.95 for a sliver of ahi, mahi, wahi, dahi, duhi. You know, everything's cutesy-wootsy. They rip you off in the Bay Area wherever you go on food. The people take it because they're schmucks and they don't answer back. So the young lady serving me looked like a nice kid. I try to talk to people. They don't know who I am naturally because on radio no one knows who you are. And I ask you this, I ask you that. So I said, well, what are you doing? You go to school? Yes, I'm going to a junior college. I said, what do you hope to do? She said, well, I want to go on and get an MSW. I said, that's nice. And what are you going to do with that? She says, well, I want to teach people how to work the system. I said, oh, really? I said, but the system's broke. There's nothing left to work. She says, well, there's plenty left to work, and I want to show people how to work the system. Classic left-wing Marin County brat raised by hippie, pot-smoking left-wing bums who work the system their whole life, teaching this child to work the system when there's no system left because it's been milked dry. So I said, you're working a very hard job here, aren't you? You're not working the system. You're working two jobs. Why would you teach someone how to work the system who doesn't want to work at all? She says to me, well, that's an interesting way to look at it, and she walks away in a huff. Nobody confronts these people with reality. Liberals and their children don't know what world they're living in. They haven't any idea what world they're living in. So, for example, there's another story. Here's another story. 3 stupid morons from the University of California at Berkeley, which is a great school in some science departments, but make no mistake about it, by and large, they've turned it into mush. They go hiking and walk over into Iran, and they get imprisoned in Iran. You read the story of who these jerks are, and you say it's impossible to believe that a person in their 20s can grow up and still have these mental attitudes. Each one of these kids, 20-year-olds, who are hiking and got walked into Iran, all went to the University of California at Berkeley. They all majored either in Middle Eastern studies or some kind of touchy-feely something or other. Now, these backpackers saying that they got lost while hiking in a mountainous region where the Iran-Iraq border is not clearly marked. I don't actually know what they were doing there. I suspect they could be CIA. I really don't know. I don't think anybody in their right mind, even liberals, would hike into Iran knowingly. But let's assume that we read the story on its face value. The 3 Americans, freelance journalists, somebody or other, his girlfriend Sarah and his friend Joshua, were hiking in a region of Iraq's northern Kurdish region, blah, 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 blah. And they walked over into Iran and they got arrested. Okay? But you look at their background, and you look at these idiots and the kind of things they studied at the University of California at Berkeley, you wonder, how in the world can these people go through an entire school, an entire college, and call themselves a freelance reporter and photographer? And how can they go there and not understand what might happen to them? How is it possible that people can grow up and not understand the danger they would be in going to Iran? Unless they're spies, I really don't know. But that's an example of the kind of stuff that you have to put up with in a liberal area, which is the incessant propaganda and the incessant stupidity, which is, of course, why I live here. Now, that raises another question, which is children and whether they're worth raising. Now, the reason I say that is because a new article came out from the government media complex, posted by the Associated Press. But as you well know, nothing gets posted by the Associated Press that doesn't first go through Rahm Emanuel's hands and, of course, the guy with the skinny mustache who looks like he ran the UJA in New York, whoever he is. What's his name? Why do I always forget him? Those 2 sneaks from Chicago. But, yeah, Axelrod, with the pencil mustache. And, of course, they're trying to tell you that children aren't worth it. Middle-income family spends $221,000 to raise a baby. It says there's no secret raising children, but how about nearly $250,000 is that expensive? Now, I think it's low by 50%, by the way. A government report, meaning an Obama report, released today, says a middle-income family with a child born last year will spend $221,000 raising their child through age 17. That's off by at least $250,000. Now, it leads you to ask, is that child worth it? Because as you well know, the illegal aliens are the only ones who the Obamas want to have children. And the reason the Obamaites want more and more illegal aliens to bring more and more babies here and make them into instant citizens is that they're more malleable than an American-born child. Because if a child doesn't speak the language, they will do exactly what you want them to do. They're glad to collect a government check. They're glad to go to a government school. They'd be glad to go to a government health care center, just as they did in their native Nicaragua, El Salvador, or Mexico. You understand why the Obamaites want more and more illegal aliens from these countries? And so it brings up a question that is worth asking anyway. Are children worth it? Now, let's think back to when people had large families. Now, I'm not talking about the crack hoes who have large families in order to get more welfare. I'm not talking about illegal aliens who have as many children as they can because every one of them becomes an instant citizen owing to the stupidity of the American people who permit this nonsense to go on. I am talking about normal, healthy, sane, married families of any race in this country and why they have children. What's the reason for having children? In the original times, the old times rather, when people were agricultural, the children worked on the farm. That's, by the way, why they were given long school vacations, in case you don't know it. Children were given summer vacations because it was too hot to go to school, and the children were needed around the farm. Consequently, the children worked during the summers. They didn't stay home and, smoke marijuana, whatever the children are doing today. So now you have families with idlers sitting around who have nothing to do, and you have the strange situation where parents have to entertain children. Their lives aren't busy enough. But in other words, when a family had 6 to 8 children, hundreds of years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, the children were useful to the parents. They were put to work. The girls churned butter. The girls knitted flags and clothing. Whatever else the girls did, the boys went out in the fields or they went hunting, and they put meat on the table. But what good are children now? They only cost you money. And so I ask you, are children worth it? And if so, why? Because they're expensive. When you read that most single-parent households in the U.S. make less than $57,000 and are expected to spend about 7% less on child-rearing costs compared to two-parent households, you have to ask yourself what's going on. And as you would understand, costs of raising a child are highest in the urban Northeast. Of course, everything's better in the urban Northeast because that's Kennedy country. and lowest in the urban South and rural areas, fill in the blanks, meaning where dumb Christians live. Of course, the AP didn't write that, but that's the implication. It's where the toothless Christians live, is in the urban South and rural areas. It's easier to raise a child, less money to raise. But in the intelligent areas of Massachusetts, particularly around Chappaquiddick, Massachusetts, it's very expensive to raise a child. One of the largest changes over time has been the increase in costs related to care for young children. Now, you notice this AP article is emphasizing the cost of care for young children because the AP article came from, it's no longer the Associated Press, it's the Associated Obama Press, the AOP. What they're trying to do is tell you that after we get universal health care, that is a socialized medicine, we're going to need then universal child care provided for by the communist government of Obama. And then they interview a woman, a mother of three, Rabin Andrews of St. Louis,